You're seeing me now, right beside you. And what you're about to hear, I guarantee you've never heard anything like it before. The words of the Bible are precise, and there's no room for error in them. Since ancient times, there were beings that roamed the earth long before we did. They weren't made of clay or of light, but of fire. I'm talking about demons, like Lucifer himself, who defied God's command and refused to bow before Adam. And from that moment on, it was like a deep, unresolved enmity existed between us, humans and them. Every time they get the chance to harm us, they take it. And though we hear many stories where humans hurt demons, more often it's the other way around, as we say. God created stone and soul, meaning spirits dwell everywhere, whether in humans, demons, or even animals. The demons we heard about as kids. Even if you don't have a personal encounter, someone in your family has. Someone's uncle, grandmother, cousin, either had a terrifying experience or even lost their mind because of them. These beings can exist anywhere. In Canada, there are places people warn you never to visit. Cursed spots in forests, lakes, old cemeteries, or hidden mountain caves. One such place is Mount Shemhallow, believed to be a kind of demonic court. It's up in the mountains of British Columbia, near a remote town called Hollow Creek. Even hearing the name sends a chill down your spine. And it's there in Shemhallow that I lived through the most terrifying days of my life. The story I'm about to tell you will make the hair on your arms stand up. Before I begin, say a little prayer for protection. Trust me, it's better that way. My name is Sam Carter. I'm 25. A clean-cut guy. I don't like trouble, and honestly, I've never had any ties to the supernatural. I never searched for it, never read much about it. I was raised in a good family with both parents. We live in Calgary. Every summer, we'd go visit extended family. Everyone except one relative in particular, my grandfather, who they all used to call Old Bones. Remember that name, because it's going to make sense soon enough. My grandfather lived up in I'd never spoken to him. We never visited, and he never came down to visit us. No one did. People said he was a powerful warlock. His story, even within the family, was strange. They said he grew up with his father on a rural farm deep in the countryside. Every morning at dawn, he'd wake up and take the livestock out into the wild fields to graze. If you know anything about herding animals in those parts, you know it's hours and hours alone in vast, empty spaces. One morning, he decided to take the animals to a new grazing area, somewhere unfamiliar. The sky was still dark. That's when it happened. He fell into an old, hidden well. It wasn't marked. No one knew it was there. He stayed trapped down there for 2 whole days. No food, no water. The only thing that kept him alive was a shallow puddle at the bottom of the well. The water was filthy, blackish, but it was just enough to keep him on his feet. His father began searching for him. When he finally reached the area, he heard something strange coming from the well. It was his son, my grandfather, laughing, and not just laughing, but talking, like someone was down there with him, like he was having a full conversation. Frightened, his father ran to get people from the village. He didn't want to approach alone. Something felt off. When they finally pulled the boy out, he wasn't the same. At night, he'd wake up laughing, talking to someone only he could see, like an imaginary friend that was too real. That went on for about a month, and then, one day, he vanished. Just like that. For 6 months, there was no sign of him. No one knew where he went or what happened. He left no note, no message. And then, the rumors started trickling in. He'd gone up to Shema. Later, we learned more. He'd met a woman there, got married, had children. But even then, he stayed mostly apart from the family. His wife lived alone while he remained in the upper hills. Eventually, they divorced. They say he remarried several times afterward, but none of the women could handle living with him. Strange things kept happening. things no one could explain. Over time, he became infamous, a feared sorcerer, deeply connected to the occult. People came to him from across North America for spells, readings, even curses. He practiced black magic, the kind that can genuinely harm others. He believed the ends justified the means. That's the man my grandfather became, and it's through him that my entire life was flipped upside down. It all began one summer. I had just finished high school with two of my best friends, Jake and Ryan, who also happened to be brothers. We were exhausted from all the pressure of college applications and entrance exams. We needed a break, and someone came up with the wild idea to go camping in We figured we'd earned it. We'd applied to all the universities, taken the exams. We'd done our part. Now it was time to let fate do its thing. So we packed our bags with everything we'd need to camp out in the wild. A small stove, tents, enough food for days. You know how it is when you're heading off-grid. You've got to be prepared. We boarded a long-distance bus from the station. That's when the first strange thing happened. The bus broke down. It was scorching hot, the kind of heat that makes your skin feel like it's burning. We were stuck on a lonely road, surrounded by nothing but open wilderness. The engine wouldn't start, no matter what the driver tried. Everyone got off, frustrated. People demanded refunds. We were stuck, so Jake, Ryan, and I decided to walk a bit and try to hitchhike. Eventually, a guy in an old pickup stopped and gave us a ride. He dropped us off in a small, remote village, still far from our destination. As soon as we stepped out of the truck, something felt wrong. The air was heavy, the sky slightly darker, like the day was hiding something. My chest tightened. About half an hour later, Ryan's phone rang. The call flipped everything. Their mom had gotten into a car accident that very same day. She was in the hospital. They told me they couldn't continue the trip. I offered to go back with them, but they insisted I stay. They said, "She's okay. Don't worry. You shouldn't miss out on this trip. If everything goes well, we'll meet up again." They found another ride and left. Now it was just me, alone. To be honest, I felt like something wanted me to be alone, like something had orchestrated this whole thing just to separate me. I kept walking through the mountain trails, heading towards. The sun was setting, and a strange haze started to cover the sky, even though it was summer. It wasn't long before the village began to appear in the distance, nestled against the base of a mountain, and I was the only one on the road. It was dusk, and if you know this region, you know what that means. Around this time, no one goes out, and that's when things started to change. This place, there are things that happen here that are hard for anyone to wrap their head around. I was walking along, minding my own business, when this old man passed by. He was wearing a long white coat, looked almost ceremonial, but it was dirty. He had a long beard, and his back was badly hunched. He glanced at me, stared for a long moment, then raised his hand like he was greeting me. So I raised my hand back. He wasn't far, just a short distance away. We exchanged the gesture, and I kept walking like normal. Maybe 5 minutes passed, and then I swear I saw the exact same man walking toward me again. I froze. There's only one trail here, so how could he have come back from the same direction I was going? There's nowhere else to turn off. I started getting nervous. He walked past me again, made the same slow stare, and lifted his hand the same way. I did it too, only this time, my hand barely moved. I was still in shock. I couldn't even say hello back. I kept walking, trying to tell myself I was overthinking it. Maybe he came from some other path I didn't notice. After all, 5 minutes of trail is a decent walk. Plenty of time for someone to loop around if there's a shortcut, right? It was getting darker by now. Night was setting in, and I originally planned to pitch my tent somewhere nearby. But after that weird moment with the old guy, I got spooked. I wasn't comfortable staying alone anymore, especially in a place this remote. If my friends had come along like we originally planned, it would have been a different vibe entirely. You know how it is. When you're with your boys, you hype each other up, and even creepy places don't seem that bad. But alone, everything feels hostile. I started looking around, thinking, what should I do? Where should I go? The only person who came to mind was my grandfather. He supposedly lived around here. I'd never met him ever, but I figured, hell, it's family. My dad always mentioned him. Maybe now's the time to knock on that door. So I wandered deeper into this old neighborhood. The houses were strange, silent, and cold, and the people walking around gave me weird stares, like I didn't belong there. Everyone's eyes seemed to follow me. Eventually, I stopped a woman and asked, "Excuse me, ma'am, sorry to bother you. I'm looking for my grandfather's house. His name's, Edward Bones." That's what my dad always called him. Some weird nickname. As soon as I said the name Edward Bones, her eyes went wide. She stared at me hard, like I'd said something forbidden. "Are you sure you want to go there?" she asked. "You're not from around here, are you?" I said, "He's my grandfather. I'm just visiting for a couple days, then I'm out. I'm on a backpacking trip." She didn't seem convinced. I could tell she wanted to back away. "You don't even know where he lives." "There's family drama," I told her. "Long story. I just want to find him." She finally pointed off into the distance. "Up there," she said. "That's his house. But don't say I didn't warn you." I walked toward it. The house was set apart from the others, made of old, cracked adobe like clay, and sitting on a small hill. It reeked of something awful. Incense mixed with rot. The kind of smell you catch near a cult's shrine or an old psychic's den. You know the smell. I raised my hand to knock, but before I could touch the door, it creaked open on its own. Standing there was a tall, wiry man with a patch over one eye, dressed in a long black robe. He didn't say a word, just stared at me like he'd been expecting me at this exact moment. No greeting. No, "Who are you?" Just this intense, knowing gaze. "Is this Edward Bones' place?" I asked. He nodded. "I'm his grandson, Sam," I said. "I'm just traveling through Mount Robson and didn't want to camp out alone in the woods. Thought I'd stop by for a night or two." He just stared, almost smiled. That's when I felt something brush against my leg. I looked down. There was this pitch-black cat just glaring at me. Not like a normal cat. This one felt human. It watched me like it knew me. Then it climbed up on the man's shoulder and perched there, never taking its eyes off me. He stepped aside and let me in. The house was musty, dimly lit, and old as hell. He pointed to a room and said, "That's yours. Don't touch the one next to it." I nodded and went in. I was starving, but there was no food, no welcome. Just silence. I tried checking my phone, no signal. As I was pulling out my sleeping bag, that same creepy cat showed up under the bed, staring. I freaked and tried to shoo it away. Nothing. It didn't even flinch. Just sat there, watching. Eventually, I shut the door, curled up under my blanket, and tried to sleep. The hunger wore me down. I passed out. Middle of the night, I woke up with stomach pain. Needed to use the bathroom. I crept out into the hall, using my phone's flashlight. The air was heavy, and that stench from earlier was worse. I was near the bathroom when I heard something crying, or wailing, multiple voices. I froze, thought I was dreaming. I moved toward the sound, terrified. I opened the bathroom, empty. Turned on the light, still empty. But the crying kept going, now louder. I realized it wasn't coming from the bathroom. It was from below. That's when I noticed a small hatch in the ground, covered in dust and dirt. You wouldn't notice it unless you were looking for it. Curiosity got the better of me. I put my ear to it, chanting, almost like religious recitation, but off, like a twisted version of it. Not scripture, something darker. I shouldn't have done it, but I opened that hatch. The stench hit me like a wall. Burned bones and rotting incense. There was a staircase leading down into an underground chamber. Bones everywhere. Human graves lined the far wall, and in the center someone sitting cross-legged. Could have been my grandfather, but I wasn't sure. He was writing something on a bone, using what looked like blood, chanting as he wrote. Suddenly, he stopped, turned his head. I slammed the hatch and bolted back to my room, locked the door, hid under my blanket, shaking. Moments later, the light flicked on by itself. My blanket slid off, no one touched it. I ripped it off and saw him, Edward, standing right there, at my bedside. "Where were you?" he asked. "Nowhere," I lied. "Did you see anything?" "No, nothing." He stared at me long and hard, then left. That whole night, I was paralyzed, whispering prayers, trying not to lose it. I don't know when I passed out, but when I woke up, the first thing I thought about was last night. I stepped outside. No food, no coffee. Just him, sitting with that cat on his lap, chanting again. Same as before. I told myself I needed to get out. Maybe head into town, grab a meal, clear my head. But even then, everyone in that place stared at me, like I wasn't welcome, like they knew I didn't belong. Later, I tried heading toward a shrine the locals said was guarded by spirits. Just wanted to see it. But someone stopped me. "You're not allowed," he said. "Why not? Everyone else is going in." He just looked at me and said, "You shouldn't even be here." That's when I climbed up to a high overlook above the valley. I wanted to see what was going on from afar. Watched people go into that shrine, but no one came out. I crept closer, found a small hole in the wall, peered through. Candles, white robes, a green cloth draped over a tomb. They were chanting, men and women, heads bowed, eyes shut, swaying. Then one woman collapsed, shrieking. Then one guy spoke, called on a name. "Shemarash," he said, "the judge of spirits." Suddenly, a girl spoke in this shrill, eerie voice. "He won't come. There's an outsider here, an intruder." Everyone paused, looked at each other. Were they talking about me? I ran, up the hill, away from it all. 2 days here, and I was losing my mind. Just wanted to hike Mount Robson and enjoy nature. Now I was running from cults, curses, and shadows. As I was filming the forest on my phone, just to document this madness, I walked past a man sitting under a tree, silent, still, half his body in sunlight, the other half in shadow. He turned his head slowly and looked at me, and didn't blink. I could see the smile on his face while I was on my way. You know how it is. I was holding my phone in my hand, recording a video. He kept telling me not to film, but didn't really say anything more. It was as if he was trying to stop me, but I was still filming. As I continued down the road, I stopped the video, kept walking, and checked the footage I had just recorded. I was looking at the area where my friend, the older man, had been sitting. There was no one around, and I felt a chill as I walked by. It was around 3:30 p.m., but I felt completely out of it. It was like I had lost track of time, and the moment seemed blurry. My head was spinning, trying to understand what had just happened, but everything felt so fast. The road I had taken was so quiet, almost no one ever passes by. Yet that day, there wasn't a soul in sight, and I hadn't seen anyone at all. I was so disoriented, I realized I had been walking with my phone in hand without even noticing. I was heading toward my grandfather's house, where the neighborhood was dark, lit only by a few streetlights. The place seemed so eerie, and I felt an unusual sense of dread. The air smelled strange, almost like burning, as I got closer to my grandfather's house. The windows were dark, except for one light flickering, and it reminded me of something old, maybe a candle or an oil lamp. When I reached the house, I could smell something off, burnt garbage, and the whole place seemed strangely painted in red. There were a few white marks around, like someone had left their clothes lying around, but no one was there. It felt wrong. I was about to step inside when I saw my grandfather sitting in front of me, looking terrified. He had a burning coal in the center and a sharp tool beside him, cutting something. My heart dropped as I watched him carefully put this tool into a copper-like object, stained with something dark. Suddenly, I felt a jolt in my hand, and it was as if I was shaking, everything spinning around me. My thoughts were racing, trying to understand what was happening, but I couldn't. I quickly tried to move, but the ground felt shaky under me. I couldn't process what was going on. I began to run, heading toward the mountain path, as the night seemed to grow even darker. The only light I had was the faint glow from the moon. I was running so fast, trying to get away from whatever was following me. The steps behind me were getting closer, like the sound of a horse or a donkey chasing me. I couldn't turn around, and my head was spinning, but I could feel someone or something closing in on me. The steps were relentless. I could hear them behind me, but I didn't dare look back. I kept running, trying to escape, but it was like I was stuck in the same place, getting closer to something dark, something I couldn't understand. Eventually, I collapsed, exhausted. The next thing I knew, I woke up to the sound of people talking around me. They were trying to help, asking questions like what happened to him, who saw him. I couldn't answer them. I was completely disoriented, unable to speak. They called my parents, and soon I was taken to a place where I could rest. I didn't know what to think. My mind was still in shock. As I sat there, trying to process it all, I kept replaying the scene over and over in my mind. My friend, the one who had been with me, he was lost in his own thoughts too. He was acting strangely, and his parents didn't know what to do. He would go on and on about what happened, as if the images wouldn't leave his mind. Sometimes, when he would hear someone reading the Bible, or hear any religious text, he would lose himself and start shouting. One time, he completely lost control, shouting about something that had to do with an old family secret, something that connected his grandfather to the supernatural world. Everyone thought it was just his mind playing tricks, but he insisted that there was something real about what he had seen. The experience changed him, and now he's always looking over his shoulder, trying to make sense of what happened. He still can't talk about it clearly, but he remembers bits of it, and he's forever haunted by the memory. This is the story of my friend, and how we all learn to be cautious of things that we don't understand. Sometimes, things happen that are beyond our control, and it's better to be careful than to ignore what our instincts tell us. I hope you take this story as a lesson, and maybe, just maybe, it will help you avoid making the same mistakes. So, if you've made it this far in the video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and share. Be cautious, and stay safe out there.